from the Torah as we're going through the Torah beginning in 2022. Today we're looking at Genesis 4 and 5. Now, the man had marital relations with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. Then she said, I have created a man just as the Lord did. Then she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel took care of the flocks while Cain cultivated the ground. At the designated time, Cain brought some of the fruit of the ground for an offering to the Lord, but Abel brought some of the firstborn of his flock, even the fattest of them. And the Lord was pleased with Abel and his offering, but with Cain and his offering, he was not pleased. So Cain became very angry, and his expression was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your expression downcast? Is it not true that if you do what is right, you will be fine? But if you do what is not right, sin is crouching at the door. It desires to dominate you, but you must subdue it. Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, where is your brother Abel? And he replied, I don't know. Am I my brother's guardian? But the Lord said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. So now you are banished from the ground which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you try to cultivate the ground, it will no longer yield its best for you. You will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Then Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is too great to endure. Look, you are driving me off the land today, and I must hide from your presence. I will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Whoever finds me will kill me. But the Lord said to him, all right then, if anyone kills Cain, Cain will be avenged 7 times as much. Then the Lord put a special mark on Cain so that no one who found him would strike him down. So Cain went out of the presence of the Lord and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had marital relations with his wife, and she became pregnant, and God gave birth to Enoch. Cain was building a city, and he named the city after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad. Irad was the father of Mehujael. Mehujael was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah was the father of Lamech. Lamech took 2 wives for himself. The name of the first was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the first of those who live in tents and keep livestock. The name of his brother was Jubal, and he was the first of all who played the harp and the flute. Now Zillah gave birth to Tubal-Cain, and who heated metal and shaped all kinds of tools made of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, you wives of Lamech. Hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for hurting me. If Cain is avenged 7 times as much, then Lamech 77 times. And Adam had marital relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Seth, saying, God has given me another child in the place of Abel, because Cain killed him. And a son was born to Seth, whom he named Enosh. At that time, people began to worship the Lord. Chapter 5. This is the record of the family line of Adam. When God created humankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. When they were created, he blessed them and named them humankind. When Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered his own son in his own likeness according to his image, and he named him Seth. The length of time Adam lived after he became the father of Seth was 800 years. During this time he had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Adam was 930 years, and then he died. Then Seth had lived 105 years, and he became the father of Enosh. Seth lived 807 years after he became the father of Enosh. He had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Seth was 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived 850 years after he became the father of Kenan. He had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Enosh was 905 years, then he died. When Kenan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived 840 years after he became the father of Mahalalel, and he had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Kenan was 910 years. Then he died. When Mahalalel had lived 65 years, he became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived 830 years after he became the father of Jared. He had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Mahalalel was 895 years, and then he died. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. Jared lived 800 years after he became the father of Enoch, and he had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Jared was 962 years, and then he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked with God for 300 years. He had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Enoch was 365 years. Enoch walked with God and then disappeared. Then he disappeared because God took him away. Methuselah lived 187 years, and he became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived 782 years after he became the father of Lamech, and he had other sons and daughters. And the entire lifetime of Methuselah was 969 years. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son. He named him Noah, saying, "This one will bring us comfort from our labor and from the painful toil of our hands, because of the ground the Lord has cursed." Lamech lived 595 years. And after he became the father of Noah, he had other sons and daughters. The entire lifetime of Lamech was 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I want to focus on chapter 4, looking at Cain and Abel. And I think it's interesting to think through. And some people have looked at, well, God was unfair to Cain. Cain brought a gift. But as I look at that, and as I've studied it, and I read it, Cain brought some of the fruit of his labor, essentially some of the produce of the earth. Some of. But when we look at Abel, he brought the firstborn. He brought the fattest, the best that he had to offer. And that was part of the point there, that Cain was not doing what was right because he was bringing kind of the leftovers. I think sometimes we bring leftovers to God still. We're like, well, I want to do this, but let me do this other stuff first. I want to serve God in this way, but I've got to take care of this first. When really we need to ask God to show us what we need to do and give him the best. And that's not always easy, but Cain didn't do that, and Abel did. And so when his offering was accepted and he was blessed, Cain got mad. And I think sometimes we are like that too, that when we see God do some amazing thing in other people's lives, we're like, well, why not me? And part of the question is, well, are we giving our best to God? Part of the other question is that what God has for us? Cain was upset, and he allowed his jealousy, he allowed really him not dealing with his own stuff, and instead looking to what Abel had to get to him, and he killed him. And that's the first murder, right, in the Bible. It's not the last, but it begins things to get worse. So Adam and Eve, they, after being ejected from the garden, went east of Eden. Well, Cain is taken further east. And in the Genesis, it's the idea of east. The further east you get, the more east you go, the further away from God is kind of that understanding of where they're supposed to be. And so that's one of the symbols there. That further away that they get from where Eden was, the further they are away from the plan that God had for them. And we see in Cain's his genealogy that happened more and more. Come to Lamech, who treats his wives as property. The names from Lamech's wives kind of denote this. And he treats life with contempt. And he's haughty, and he brags about striking a young man and killing him. Things get worse and worse. And that's part of what we see there. A lot of times when we read through genealogies, we just want to rush through them in the Bible. But if you guys were with us when we were going through the book of Genesis, the beginning of the book of Genesis on Wednesday nights, we found that those names are really important. Those names tell us a lot about who they are. Names are important. The way we name things are important. You may say, well, my name isn't meaningful, but what other names do you have? You know, I'm Jared, but I'm also daddy. I'm also husband. I'm also pastor. Those are also names, and those are meaningful as well. So I like my name, Jared. It's biblical. Literally, we read it today. It comes from the verb "he came down," meaning a visitation of God. I think it's important to know our name and know where it comes from, but know our identity. The Hebrew people had an understanding that when they named, they bestowed and instilled an identity on someone, and they would grow into that. And I think as we enter this new year, we need to realize the only one who truly has the right to bestow an identity on us is our Heavenly Father. There are a lot of people who want to put identities on us, put names to give us. But our Creator is the one who deserves that. And He wants what's best for us, even when we don't want it sometimes. And He calls us to give back our best. Will we be that sort of people in 2022? My prayer is that we will. I hope you guys are doing well. Have a wonderful day.